Allow me to first thank the American Correctional Association for having me today. They've worked very hard to shape public policies on correctional issues in a manner consistent with the association funding principles, constitution and bylaws, vision statement, and public policies and resolution. I would like to also acknowledge the Government and Public Affairs Department and also the Legislative Affairs Committee for developing the association position on public policy issues and represent the association before the United States Congress, the federal executive agencies, state and local government, advocacy and interest groups, the media, and the general public. They're always working hard to forge petition contacts and lawmakers and administration officials and take pride in its close relationship with the law enforcement community and numerous advocacy organizations. I would like to thank you for your hard work and dedication for monitoring, tracking, and analyzing legislative activity for the association and disseminating information to policymakers, advocacy groups, and the media as well as ACA members. This afternoon, I would like to take a few moments to share with you how U.S. incarceration is higher than any other modern industrialization nation and how racial minorities are incarcerated at a higher rate than their Caucasian counterparts. Since 2002, the United States has had the highest incarceration rate in the world. Although prison populations are increasing in some parts of the world, the natural rate of incarceration for countries comparable to the United States tends to stay around 100 prisoners per 100,000 population. The U.S. rate is 500 prisoners per 100,000 residents, or about 1.6 million prisoners in 2010, according to the latest available data from the Bureau of Justice Statistics. At year-end 2013, 17% of all inmates were aged 30 to 34, while estimated 2% were aged 65 or older, and estimated 58% of male inmates and 61% of female inmates in state or federal prison were aged 39 and younger. Amongst male, white prisoners were generally older than black or Hispanic prisoners. An estimated 17,300 inmates aged 65 or older were white males. Black, particularly young black male, make up a disproportionate share of the U.S. prison population. In 2008, young black men ages 18 to 34 were at least 6 times more likely to be incarcerated than young white men. According to recent analysis by Becky Petit, a University of Washington sociologist, she found that young black males without a high school diploma were more likely to be in prison or jail on any given day in 2008 than to be working. Only in the last few decades has the passage into prison of young black men with little schooling emerged as routine. For these young men, born since the mid 1970s, serving time in prison has become a normal life event. The custody The custody incarceration rate for black males were 4,600 per 100,000. Hispanic males were incarcerated at a rate of 1,700 per 100,000 compared to the estimated numbers of black, white, and Hispanic males in the U.S. resident population. Black males and Hispanic males were more likely to be held in custody than white males. At mid-year 2007, the estimated incarceration rate for white males were 773 per 100,000. Although crime rate may explain much as 80% of the disparity in imprisonment, dis- disparity in imprisonment, a significant residential suggests that blacks are punished uh, punitively policed, prosecuted, and sentenced. Sociologists of the punishment link that differential treatment to official perceptions of black as threatening or troublesome. The racial threat theory is empirical, supported by research on sentencing and incarceration rates. Strongest evidence for racial differences, I mean, I'm sorry, strongest evidence for racial Racially differential treatment is found for some offenses and in some jurisdictions rather than at the aggressive, uh, I'm sorry, at the aggregate level. African Americans are especially high risk of incarcerations given their arrest rate for drugs, crime, and burglary. States with large white population also tends to incarcerate blacks at a higher rate, controlling for race-specific arrest rates and demographic variables. A large residential racial disparity in imprisonment thus appears due to differential treatment of African Americans by police and courts. High incarceration rates among black and lower education men have been tracked to similar sources. The slim economic opportunities and turbulent living conditions of young, disadvantaged black men may lead to crime. In addition, elevated rates of offending in poor and minority neighborhoods compound to stigma of social marginality and provoke the scrutiny of criminal justice authority. Incarceration in the United States is one of the most main form of punishment rehabilitation for both the commission of felonies and other offenses. A prison goal or jail is a facility in which inmates are forcibly confined and denied a variable of freedom under the authority of the state as a form of punishment. The most common use of prison is as part of a criminal justice system in which individuals officially charged with or convicted of a crime are confined to a jail or prison until they are either brought to trial to determine they're guilty to complete the period of incarceration they were sentenced to after being found guilty at their trial. There are many criminals you can there are many crimes you can commit to land you behind bars, but it's up to the judge to determine the outcome for the crime committed. In conclusion, I feel that incarceration should be our form of justice in order to keep crime rate down. When what I don't agree with is the social inequalities that affect our incarceration rate. Everyone should be held accountable for their actions and face punishment for the crime they've committed. It is a way for a person to think of the crime they've committed, what's the outcome for them doing it again, when released, what steps they can take in order for them to not be in the same position, and how can they make their lives better. Incarceration keeps the crime rate down and the criminals off the street. The good part about being incarcerated is that they have the opportunity to go to school, get a trade, church, and influence others that jail is not the best option. The downside of the situation is that some people, no matter the outcome, is content with being incarcerated and influence others to commit crime even when released because crime is the only thing they've known. Some crimes don't fit the punishment, but it's not fair. Some crimes fit the punishment and it's not fair, but life isn't fair. We have to protect ourselves, our children, and their children in order to make our world a better place. Thank you.